Hey everybody, Adam Savage in my cave with a show and tell, a little autobiography, and it's a sponsor video by our friends at Fluke. When you are young and you are just starting out in your field, there are tools for your trade, whatever your trade may be, that are pretty obviously tools of that trade. And then there's a category of tools of the trade that you're not going to necessarily find out about organically. Like someone has to tell you about them. And the first one of those for me was actually this, a humble electrical meter, a multimeter. This is a Fluke Multimeter. This is my current bread and butter meter. I use it weekly here in the cave. And it's a vital tool in my shop. And I've had one of these in my kit for about 35 years. This is not the first one I had. I actually bought this about 10 years ago. This is the first one I had, this ancient beat up thing. So it's the early 90s. I'm living in the Bayview here in San Francisco, and I'm just starting to build my first shop. And I learned about the Foothill College Ham Radio Electronics Swap Meet, which is literally like this incredible locus of Silicon Valley brain power and detritus that probably a half dozen Fortune 100 startups were built out of the stuff from the Foothill College Swap Meet back in the 80s and the 90s. So I would go down there every month, the second Saturday of every month, and I would spend money buying little bearings and nails and tiny springs. There's still some stuff here in my hardware store that I picked up at the Foothill College Swap Meet in the early 90s. But I think the most important tool I picked up there was this. And I had to save up for this. I think I paid $65 for this used back then. And that was a stretch for me. I never, ever regretted it. And I used this thing for decades. And let me say, actually, it's more correct to say I underused it, because the main thing I used this for was Audible Continuity. What's Audible Continuity? Okay. You're going to be surprised how useful this one feature is. And I'm actually going to see if this thing powers up. It does! This button spins all the way around, but this machine still works. All right, we're going to plug this in. I'm going to show you Audible Continuity. When you are working with electrics, plugs in the wall, house electrics, electronics, working with toys, no matter how rudimentary, if you are working with electrics, you totally need one of these. And specifically, if the thing you're working on electrically doesn't work, well, clearly that's because there's a circuit, and somewhere in that circuit, electricity isn't getting where it needs to go. So continuity is a way of testing, hey, is this circuit complete? And it's a test you can do while the thing is unpowered. So I have here like a little absolutely rudimentary breadboard circuit where this yellow wire connects up to the positive lead here, jumps over to the negative lead over here, and back to this. And if I connect my two leads here, they'll beep. Okay, so if I connect my two leads to these alligator clips, they should beep. There we go. And if I remove this, right there, that little operation, that's about 95% of the problem solving that I need to do in the shop is that. Where is the thing not actually connected? This has helped me with car repairs, home repairs, electronics repairs, on the clock, off the clock. It's impossible to overestimate how important Audible Continuity is alone as a singular feature. And this thing does like 1,000 other features, capacitance, resistance, and I've used it for many of those. Still, I've probably only tapped the tip of the iceberg of what this machine can do. And like I said, I used this for about 25 years. I upgraded to this guy, and he's served me really well. And back then I was investing in my young self. And I was doing that because a friend of mine was like, you got to get yourself one of these. It'll last you. And I was following his advice. But what I want to say to you is back then, I can't say this for sure, but I don't think Fluke was thinking about young me at a flea market when they were making these products back in the 80s and the 90s. But they are considering young makers now, and they've released a line of more accessible electric and electronic tools for the beginning maker, the person at the beginning of their career. And I just want to tell you, these machines have served me dutifully for now coming on 4 decades. And I'd love to hear in the comments tools that you love that have served you for your lifetime. These are the kinds of pieces of information that we must trade to each other as makers. For instance, where did you find out about Forstner bits? I guarantee you it wasn't the hardware store. Someone told you about it. That's why I'm telling you about this. Thanks for joining me for this show and tell. Adam Savage in my cave, and I'll see you next time. Hey, don't go just yet, because it's the internet and it's a sponsored video. We have a discount for you. Yes, US only. If you go to Fluke.com's US site and type in the code SAVAGE12, you will get a 12% discount on your purchase. Go get some equipment.